It's like, no, man, it's fucking hard to actually lean into faith and surrender and make choices that I'm going to be judged for by the people that I care about, because I have the same programming stuck in my head too that I'm working through.
This is Other Maria, the podcast of our real-life conversations about personal evolution, society, relationships, spirituality, and everything else. We're getting vulnerable in these good faith talks and sometimes respectfully disagreeing about which of us is wrong. Just kidding, there's no right and wrong. We're just two friends sitting around talking shit. Wait, talking about deep shit, right? That's what we're doing? Yeah, enjoy. We go now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I should D&D. I'm just so curious to see how this situation unfolds.
I mean, sure.
I'll check it enough. I'll D&D. Hello, motherfucker. No, I already did that. Okay. There's a new Lil Wayne song on Spotify called Brand New.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited about it because I thought it would be one of those things where it was like, I could assume that Maisie wrote it, but
Maisie's her cat.
It's not really applicable. Maisie's my cat that acts fucking brand new all day, every day.
Oh, God. My cat, too.
It's the cat thing.
So brand new. Have you not been here before?
Child.
Yeah. Have we not done this dance before?
Literally all day, every day.
All day.
For the past almost decade.
Yep.
Cool. Anyway.
Well, I was going to say about... We're jumping in middle stuff, though, but...
It's alright.
So, fuck, I don't totally remember what I was going to say, but
I do.
I was just going to say, like, the fear of leaving a job when people are in that state of extreme panic, like, I cannot leave this job because X, Y, and Z, and always X, Y, and Z are the same things. Money, I need to survive, I need to pay my rent, I need to have a 401k and a retirement plan and a pension, or, like, whether or not pension, but, like, and I need to hit all the markers.
I can't have a gap on my resume.
I can't have a gap on my resume.
Which is my favorite because I'm like, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maria's going to black out a lot today on this episode, so let's just get ready. But, like, I feel like one of the keys is, like, when people are leaving jobs like that or doing something that feels that scary, this fear is not going to go away. And, like, that's, like, I think a big thing to acknowledge of, like, it's not just about the relief you're going to feel if you do pull the trigger, because even in that state, so we're talking about like a specific population of people who are miserable in their jobs, but
absolutely
like
out of their minds, miserable, dreading waking up the next day. Personally, I know a handful of them,
right?
And that's way too many because I only know a handful of people.
It's very, very true.
Slight exaggeration.
But the people who are, like, actually literally dreading their entire existence, don't want to get up in the morning, cannot come up for air, constantly miserable, and, like, hamster wheeling it or whatever, that's the population we were having a conversation about. And if you even muster the courage to quit, it's not going to just suddenly then not feel or be scary.
Not necessarily. It could be.
What?
Like, it could be a huge relief.
Oh, wait. Absolutely, you're going to feel the relief. What I'm saying is, I know in my heart those people do it, feel relief for a minute, and then have a meltdown again.
Yes.
So that's all I'm saying. You're going to feel relief. What I'm saying is, you don't quit the job hoping that you're going to feel so relieved that now you're just in relief mode and you're over it and and all your fears are absolved. It's like, no, the point is not to quit to just feel a relief feeling. You have to be prepared. They're also going to still keep feeling really scared and freaked out. And that's part of the process. That's all I was trying to say.
Got it.
That's all I was like gonna say, just like off the cuff before we started recording, because it's just like I noticed that too, where it's like, you help somebody maybe even get to the point of like actually moving away from the job, and then I've seen people be like kind of resentful because they are then suddenly like, what the fuck have I done?
Right.
Why did I listen to that advice? Why did I do that?
I absolutely get what you're saying.
That's all I was trying to say. Oh, you're going to feel relief because it's the right choice, and you need to be free and you need to get out.
I thought you were saying like it's not going to take away the fear.
What, quitting?
Right, because if a person is in a situation where they're absolutely miserable at their job, but they're staying for all of the aforementioned reasons, and they're afraid of feeling insecure without all those boxes checked, when they quit, they will still feel that insecurity.
Yes, right.
They will just feel relief from not having to dread waking up the next day.
100%.
Got it.
You're not going to suddenly, like, solve all your fears and anxiety. You are going to feel a lot of relief, but I just wanted to acknowledge that and talk about that part too.
Right.
Because it's like, that's the whole point, because it's a much deeper seated insecure feeling and fear than just from this job, because it's the survival mode stuff.
Right. Because I think the initial fear is, so here's what I see. The misinterpretation that the initial fear for the hypothetical person that we're talking about in the hypothetical situation we're talking about, you say, you're miserable at your job, you should quit.
Yeah.
And then they feel fear about that.
Right.
And they tend to, at first blush, interpret that fear as, well, because that's not the right choice.
Yeah.
So that's the initial fear. And then, like, the second wave that you've illustrated is when they do take the leap and quit. And they feel relieved for, like, 12 hours.
Seriously.
Yes, it happens so fast. We've watched it.
Quick turnaround.
12 hours.
They don't even get, like, a full 24 hours to enjoy the freedom or the...
And then it's that fear of, oh, God, I made the wrong choice. But all of it is like, no, it's scary because it's new.
Yeah.
It's scary because you're growing in ways, like your soul is growing. You're moving beyond the belief of what you could do or were allowed to do, or just like experimenting with like living life differently. And like that is scary because the unknown tends to be really scary for humans.
Absolutely.
And like that's part of it. But I guess what you're saying too was just that fears, like, it's gonna come up, it's part of the process, and it is not automatically an indication that you're going the wrong way.
No.
Which I think is what people mistake it for a lot of the time.
Oh, absolutely, because they're also so caught up in the anxiety and the hamster wheel where they're at anyway, that it's just like, I hope for people that they can be more prepared to be like a more holistic idea of like what's going on when you're in that place that you're so fucking miserable at your job, and in that hamster wheel of belief systems that you have to have a plan for your future, have X amount of money in the bank before you could ever make a move. That literal bullet point list.
Right.
It's exactly perfectly correct. That is the perfect bullet point list of the things people are scared of.
Right. Which, let me figure out how to make that more anonymous.
Oh, yes, sorry. I guess the awareness of like what's going on in general, it's so hard when you get to that point and you really do just need to quit. I feel like a lot of people aren't present with it, which of course they're not. They're absolutely nowhere near being present.
That's what I was going to say on that exact note.
Yeah.
Which is, I hear two versions of this. One version is, I am so miserable, but I have to be responsible and care about all these things.
Right.
Like, and I am so miserable. The other version is, I'm almost happy. It's almost perfect. When I get the signing bonus, or when I hit the 1 year mark and then I can leave, when I get this part, if I get this project, and like justification, like left, right, flying in fast, beating you senseless because you're not seeing the truth of like, you're not happy right now if you're having to justify it that much.
Yeah.
And talking about how it's gonna be great in the future. You can see it, it's gonna be great. And like, that's not to say that there's not like a ramp up period for shit.
Right.
But like, if you always have that experience,
right,
or you're several years into something and you haven't yet checked in with your gut to see if that's real and all you're doing is just, I don't know, there's like that two different flavors of the same weirdness about the awareness.
Yeah, totally. I think the times people are the most unaware of what's going on with them is when they quit jobs that they're miserable in and then jump back into a job that they're miserable in. Because the fear and anxiety... Vespa.
A Maserati Vespa.
A Maserati
had a baby. And it's Maria's...
A Vesperati.
A Vesperati, and it's Maria's new little vehicle.
I don't want a Maserati. I don't know why this is suddenly coming up in my thing. Maybe I should look into Maseratis before I say that, but...
I would love that, because
I don't know anything about Maseratis. I don't know, all I was going to say was just, like, it does come back to the stuff that you and I are obsessed with, of just, like, feeling our feelings and trying to stay present and et cetera, and, like, sometimes it is kind of batshit that we're like, let's stay present with this anxiety. Like, ew, so uncomfortable that you want to just mask it and throw shit on it.
Well, yeah, and, like, to be fair, like, I think,
this is a very focused episode.
Right. The heavy edits. What I was going to say was, like, we do talk a lot about, like, staying present with those feelings. And I feel like part of the reason is that it's something that is so easy to lose touch with. Mm-hmm. Like, when I can do that, it feels like magic the way the feeling moves through me.
Yes.
And I've had that experience. I understand that's possible. And yet, at least 75% of the time, I feel a feeling and I'm like, nope. But, like, mostly unconsciously. And then it takes me a beat or two to realize that I've rejected it. So it's just like this, we talk about it so much, I feel like, because we're both just in that stage of living in it. Mm-hmm. And it takes a great deal of awareness. Like, it does. It has, like, we have to be constantly aware of it in order to be able to do it half the time.
Absolutely.
But it really is, it's very fucking cool when you can do it.
It is.
But with what you were talking about, like that exact thing where you said where someone's miserable at their job and then they quit and then they get in it. I feel like that was, honestly, in retrospect, such a spiritual experience for me when I had... So I had, up until the pandemic, I had a corporate job and I worked for a big company and I was middle management and, dude, all we did all day.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. It was a chill company.
Yeah.
It was a totally chill company. And, like, I was there for 6 years, but, like, as time went on, they were getting more and more corporate.
Sure.
But they were still a super chill company. Like, it was one of those places that had the Google vibe. They had, like, a tiki bar in the middle of the office.
Right.
And they had cool shit. But anyway.
Yeah.
What I did with most of my peers for most of the time when I was in management, and even before that, and we were, like, lighthearted about it, but we just talked about how unfulfilled we were.
Yeah.
And, like, how it just, like, was not what we wanted to be doing.
Right.
And justifying a little bit. And the woman that I worked most closely with was, like, trying to launch a YouTube channel, and she was telling me all about it, and I was really excited for her, and, like, so keep that in mind. And then, like, a month into the pandemic, essentially my whole department got laid off.
Right.
And it was, like, this one big Zoom call. There was, like, 100 of us on there. And we all got laid off, and that really sucked because I was, like, managing people at the time. Mm-hmm. And I had done my best to reassure them with zero information, but just, like, how I'd seen the company behave before. You know, and then it was like, sorry guys, we all just lost our jobs. So, like, emotionally that sucked. But what was so interesting is that everyone at my level, everyone under us, I think, they didn't retain anyone. And it might have been the level above us, too, that they leaned out. And I watched every single person scramble frantically. And, like, granted, it was, like, a month into the pandemic, so, like, everyone was frantically scrambling about everything in their life.
But right, mind you, it was a month into the pandemic, so everyone's scrambling about literally everything, because life is blowing up for everyone.
Totally. Correct. But it was like this, I swear to God, I had a moment that was like slow motion where I, like, realized we just got laid off like 3 days ago. And everyone's messaging and sharing, like, all these links to, like, places that are hiring, and everyone's, where are you going? Where are you going? Like, have you heard this place? And, like, oh, I talked to this person. They're at this company. And it was all, like, identical roles at identical companies. And it was so clear to me. I was like, that ain't going to work for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing that. This is an opportunity.
Right.
I don't know. And it wasn't like it was bad. at all. Like, there wasn't any judgment. I just remember so clearly seeing it as, that doesn't make any sense what y'all are doing. To me. Doesn't make any sense, because we all just felt so unfulfilled. This is an opportunity for something else. And then, shortly thereafter, I was like, I'm a writer! And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. It takes a huge leap of faith. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It takes such a leap of faith. And it's really hard because the society we're in, it's all of that messaging. And so it really takes strength to navigate all the voices, because you will literally get voices, even from people you don't know, like from strangers. And even whether or not they're judgmental, they could be like zero judgment, but like you're going to get like, so what's the next job? Like, so what are you doing next? So, you know.
Yeah, or like, you know, if you do that, then you don't get this, right?
Yeah.
Or like, have you thought about the consequences of that?
Totally. You get like weird questioning where it's like, yeah, of course I do. It's all I've heard my entire fucking life. Thanks for that though. Yeah, yes, I definitely do. And so it takes a lot of certitude, whether or not you're certain. Not certainty, certitude.
She's trying to start a fight, y'all.
You are, am I?
I'm just kidding.
I know, no, semantic fight. No, I'm just saying, are you mad about it?
No.
I said certitude specifically because I mean to say it takes acting with conviction whether or not you're certain. And like, yes, okay, you can be, you should be certain too. But do you know what I'm saying? Just being like, nope, this is what I'm doing. And of course you're scared. And of course you're not always feeling like, yeah.
Right. And I think that's the whole thing about the leap of faith part, which is that like, I'm running about my day doing whatever the fuck I'm doing, climbing trees and whatever. And plenty of moments I'm just like, oh fuck, I hope I'm making the right choices here.
Yeah.
You know, like that comes up
Absolutely.
a handful of times every day.
Absolutely.
When I get quiet and I sit with myself and I ask for God or whoever the fuck to be with me in that moment, then I'm like, it's gonna be fine.
Right.
I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this moment.
Right.
Beyond that, I can't tell you.
Literally.
Beyond this moment, I can't tell you.
Right.
I just know what feels true and right, and for me, divinely guided in this moment. And I think, so what I'm starting to understand that is super valuable about that certitude thing too, because it takes courage and it takes vulnerability and conviction. And I just think that like, I don't know if it's more, I don't really know what it is, but I feel like I'm just like getting to practice maybe this thing that I've not done so much before, which is just, I've not done this before, which is like, I am absolutely going to do what I am telling you I'm going to do. And if you want to have a conversation to understand, that's cool, but I'm not engaging in a dialogue that is not in good faith, wherein you are only trying to change my mind.
Totally.
I'm happy to explain my decision to you to the best of my ability, but we're not going to have a you try to change my mind debacle.
Totally. 100%. What's coming to mind for me is the conversation with a loved one I had, being like, but what about your 401k? But what about your pension? Mm-hmm. And it was just like the desperation with which I was being spoken to. Mm-hmm. So, update for y'all, I quit my job.
Woo!
Woo!
Which also, just like really quickly, we were walking through the parking lot earlier and I was like, Maria, is it not the coolest thing and the weirdest space to be in where like you hear someone quit their job and you like kind of hesitate and you're like, wait, can I celebrate?
Yeah.
Or no. Is
or
it
like you're worried about getting fired. And it's just like,
is that bad? Is it good?
Is it a bad
Can we
thing?
celebrate?
Is that a good thing? It's, instead of being like, oh no, you're going to get fired.
Yeah. Okay, so Maria quit her job, and the reason this is wonderful is because it was taking a lot out of you.
Yes.
It wasn't...
1,000%.
And like, because we're not just advocating everyone quit your job for no fucking reason.
Absolutely not.
That's not it at all.
No, not even close.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this job I was an event server, so it wasn't corporate at all, anything like that. But it was really great money and an incredibly great team. So it probably was the best job I've ever had, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And I loved my team. It just was so physically taxing, people work just so hard to like put on a wedding. I was working weddings. Those are the big events at the space. And so it was literally 11 to 12 hour shifts, lifting insane amounts of furniture, moving around an entire gigantic dining room, and then running the event itself, giving a couple getting married, giving them like the best night of their life, giving really good service, like serving really great food. We really did go above and beyond. That space is, the staff is stellar. We give people a really amazing experience. And everyone's fucking exhausted. It is the most exhausting fucking work, and you make good money. So it's like all these funny, weird things, you know, and...
So it was the best job you ever had in certain ways.
Correct. I will absolutely have better jobs in my life, and I will probably, it'll work for myself, and that will be the best job that I do, or whatever. Maybe I'll work for some other company someday, but it will just not... There will be a better job one day.
Oh, totally. I just meant like up until this point.
I know. I'm saying, and I will have better jobs in my life. And up till now, that was the best job. And I was miserable by the end. I did it for over a year, and oh my God, my body is ravaged. My time clock is so off. Like,
dude,
it's all over the place and whacked out. But I guess the more important piece is I'm quitting without having another job set in place.
Right.
And Except for this, that's right. And over the pandemic, I didn't work for 2 years, which was insane. And very similarly to Maria, it was kind of a palpable choice where it was like, whoa, am I seriously choosing this? How am I going to get away with this? Who am I to do this? You know, all these voices that Maria and I have worked through in the last 2 years by talking to one another and our other good friends and processing and trying to find faith in all these other things, because it was like, who the fuck am I to think I can just fucking fuck off, you know, like whatever, all those voices. Who am I to think I deserve this, or that I'm, you know, all that shit. But when I did it that time, everyone was out of work. And so even if people were going back to work slowly here and there were also lots of people not working. So I didn't get as many questions of like, what are you going to do?
Right, because there was a societally acceptable reason.
Right. So no one was actually questioning
would make
it.
that choice.
Right. And like, I did a little bit get it, but really then I just left and went and lived with a very dear friend, owe her my life, because she let me live with her for free in Tennessee. And so I got to escape for a while. I went away for 10 months and was just away doing my own thing. But now it's so interesting because like society's up and running again, and I'm just quitting without anything in place. And now I'm getting those questions. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Holy shit. But like, it feels so good to just not even be slightly questioning my decision, and I can just so confidently be like, oh yeah, no, I don't have another thing. Like,
right.
But the two different conversations I would talk about that I think would be kind of fun to talk about was the one with the loved one who's older and who just was like such fear and intensity in my direction of just at first being like, oh, I'm so glad you quit that job. That was way too exhausting. You know, it was the vibe of like, oh, my poor Maria should not be in a place like that. That's so miserable and exhausting, and that's too much. And like, oh, you should not be doing that. But like within 10 seconds, started being like, so what are you going to do next? So if you thought about, like, even though she had just gotten excited about me taking a break, I told her I was taking a break, and she was like, great. Like, I'm so glad to hear you're taking a break. I'm so happy for that. And we couldn't just sit in that space.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't just sit in that space. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy that you're taking a break. Let's talk about what's happening with your life right now, or let's enjoy our evening. So then she immediately jumps into this literal like 10-minute thing, which was very hard to not engage in because I'm very close to this person. But like, you gotta find a job with a pension. But what about your 401k? Like these literal terms just like being hurled at me.
You have to find something long term.
You have to find some. No, yes, you have to find something long term. But you gotta find something that's got some staying power. Like shit. And there's nothing I can say.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. I'm caught. It's like a trap. Because I'm trying to be like, yeah, I understand. And I'm like, hey, but like, there's not a job I'd want with a pension. And she's like, we could find you a job that you'd like with a pension. Like, what are you talking? No, you couldn't. You literally could not find a job for me, Maria, that I would like that has a pension.
Do any jobs have pensions anymore?
Great question. Because then a few days later, I did Google it. She sent you an article. No. I did Google it, and like, honest to God, they're mostly now just government jobs and teaching. Yeah. None of the things I'm gonna do. And like, the only one that she's ever been able to sort of put on me is teaching, because I have a teaching degree. I used to show interest in it, and like, I do like kids. and would want to teach in some capacity. Just fuck no, not anywhere that has a pension. I'm not going to go work for CPS. I'm not going to go work for the private school. I'm not a fucking morning person. I'm not going to give my life up to that right now. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So, no.
Right. And, like, here's the thing. So that's available to you and you technically could do that.
Right.
But, and then I want to come back to, like, what vibe I got from that just now because of another conversation I had.
Yes.
But we made it clear that we're not, like, everyone quit your job for no reason. No. If you are selling your soul and selling your serenity for what this job is going to give you in the future, just quit now.
Right.
Because what you're saying is, like, you could do those jobs, a government job, a public school teaching job.
Yep.
And for you would be trading your soul right now for a pension in however many years.
Yep.
That would be the trade-off. And that's the same as the people that are so miserable right now in their jobs. And they're like, but I'm going to get a bonus, or I'm up for a promotion, or I can put that I stayed here for 2 years on my resume instead of just 1.5. It's like, you are actively saying that my serenity, my happiness, my joy, my energy is not as important as my resume or an extra, I don't even know the numbers for 401ks and shit, like an extra, like, little piddling in there. But I got news for you, because if you keep living your life like this, like you're living it so fucking stressed out, you're not going to be able to get to the point where you can use your pension or your 401k.
Right, though.
You're going to drop dead.
Yes. Or you're just going to be really, like, exhausted and physically affected in your later life, in your older years.
You're going to get to your retirement and be too beat to shit
to enjoy it. But you'll have the money for it. Like, I don't know. And the other thing is, it's like, let me be clear, too. If all jobs just should have pensions. Like, that's just like a whole different conversation. And that's where the whole system is broken thing comes in. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, I feel like there's also this feeling of, like, why wouldn't you take advantage of a pension if you could? And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Because I don't want to be miserable. But I'm not like, I'm so counterculture that I don't even believe in pensions. You know, like there's that acknowledgement too.
It's just that the
cost of it's not worth it to me.
The cost is too high. We're not saying there's no value.
Right. The cost is too high and doesn't make sense. And at this point, I would rather I would just like to rework the system for myself. There's no other way to do it right now. Right. Our systems are going to have to evolve as each of us evolve, which is what you and I talked about on the last podcast. And so it's like, my personal work is to not just go out of fear to go get a job that gives me a pension and a 401k so that I can have easier conversations in my life with the people who are scared.
Because that's really what you'd be getting out of it.
That's all it is.
Easier conversations with people that want to hear that.
Correct.
Right. So it's interesting because I still want to come back to, like, what this vibe reminded me of. But in my conversation with people too, and particularly the population that we started off talking about, where it's like everyone is so concerned about the bullet list of what am I going to lose if I leave this job. You know, when I talk about what I'm doing, I mean, it just spilled out a couple times and now I'm realizing it's a very repeatable thing, which is just that the life that I am designing right now, that I am putting in place, and to be clear, I don't have a tangible plan. I don't know how this is working. Yeah. This is so divinely faith-led, God contingent. I'm really, really, really paying attention to the guidance that I'm getting from my higher power and being super intentional about keeping that relationship very close and communication wide open. I don't have a plan, but the point is, I intend to continue to build a life for myself where work feels like play and I won't need to retire.
Totally.
Because I'm just going to keep playing and creating because that's the whole point of my life. And I know that things that I create have immense value. And I don't know anything beyond that. I'm just going with it. But it's like what you were saying about I'm going to change the system for myself. That's exactly what I'm intending to do.
Absolutely.
And just like, it's like the pension makes sense in a culture where people are working so hard that they need to retire in order to have a fun little decade or two at the end.
Right.
Because they're going to need to rest at that point in time. I don't want to live a life that I have to take a vacation from or that I have to retire from.
Yeah.
And like, travel is different. Travel is like a difference of scenery, and that's always going to be a good thing. But we're planning a trip for Mexico in a couple months, like all of us. And like, I fully intend to be doing the same work that I'm doing here right now. I fully intend to be doing that there because it doesn't feel like work.
Right. Totally.
And I would miss it if I put it down for a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I want to live my life.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing.
And I think in the past, I would imagine that decades ago, when people did this, they were super outliers. Mm-hmm. And those were the people who, like, went off the grid. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So they were like...
It's like complete nihilism.
Right. And, like, I bet that worked for a lot of them. But, like, it was that vibe of you didn't even hear of them, or they were just so, off the grid outside of the system. The system's just so running wild, and these people are like the outliers, and you don't really hear from them because they're just living with themselves and each other in communities very outside. But I think more and more people are trying to live like you and I, or trying it, or becoming experimental, or opening their eyes to, I'm miserable and I don't have to be, or I don't want to be. Like, I think that's...
Opening to it,
and that's because the system is going to change. Right. I believe that.
Yes.
So the reason the system's going to change is because enough of us are waking up and at least just going, what the fuck? I feel terrible. Do I have to keep feeling terrible? But back in the day, people did just grit and bear it. But yeah, like, I think that, like, a lot of people in past generations were actually just, like, exhausted till the day they died, even during retirement. And so, like, that's the part, too, where it's, like, it's definitely painful and frustrating when it's people that you really care about, that you really love, that are parental figures, or that are adult figures in your life that you really care about, because it feels like judgment and misunderstanding, and it does suck.
And it truly is misunderstanding.
It's 100% misunderstanding, right? And it's not out of any malice. It's just like the judgment and the like...
Well, and I think the judgment comes from fear.
Oh, no, totally. 100% you and I know this. Like, these people that are in my life that are older, that have these fears, I'm 100% aware of how they're some of the best people in my life, and the best people that I know, and the best hearted people, and are coming from the best intentions, and are just scared and don't understand. I get it as an adult. It's just also the inner child stuff is hard. It's painful. It's just like, oh man, I have to really...
Well, because, okay, so there's this analogy that I absolutely love. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but Kyle sees, of course. It's essentially like you're standing there with an iPhone and you're telling your family member, I'm going to do this on my phone. And they're like, oh, you can't do that. And they pull out like one of those old
like
brick Nokias.
Or
like,
brick Nokia.
You can't do that. And you're like, no, yes, I can.
Oh my God, this is a good analogy.
Like, I can do it. I don't know how to do it, but like, let me...
Like my smartphone. I don't know how, but the capability is there.
I have the capacity.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't do it. And they're showing you the Nokia, and they're like, you're gonna short circuit. Like, you can't do it on there. And it's like, okay, but you guys have the 1950s programming.
Right.
That's what you have, and it's now 2023. And the thing is, like, you and I are just waking up to it, but like... The world is so different than it was when our parents were our age or when their parents were our age. The world is so different. When my mom, this blows my mind, when my mom was my age, I was 10 and my brother was 5. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I was 11 at this point. Mm-hmm. And that was the norm.
Yep.
That was absolutely standard. All of her friends that have kids... They're all my age.
Yep.
And, like, all of my friends, most of us don't have kids. We're only, like, starting to people have kids now. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, and you see all the things about, like, millennials not buying homes and having kids later, and the dog is the baby. And it's like, yes, because the world is different. And those are tangible examples.
Right.
And because it's so different, it doesn't fit... the mold anymore of the 1950s brick Nokia design of how one moves through life and works at a job for 50 years and then retires with this amazing pension. That is no longer applicable.
Yep. And that's where it's like frustrating when I have these conversations. But I'm talking about a very specific thing. But for any listeners who do have those relationships in your life, that's what I'm talking about. Because I know this is like a common experience. I know this is not like just in my life that is happening, where it's like a really close loved one is very questioning and it's just very triggering. And,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what it sounds like, and this is what I wanted to say before. So one of our other friends found herself in a situation where she's in very, very early stages of dating with several different people that she likes a lot. And like when it rains, it pours. And as we talked it through, she made a comparison to business. And so as you're talking about this conversation that you had with a loved one, I'm just thinking about it where it's like, she could just as well be saying to you, like, when are you going to get married? Can I set you up with this guy and this guy? Like, why don't you want to get married? You and your boyfriend just broke up. Like, do you want to get married? Do you want to meet that guy I've been telling you about now? Do you want to meet him? Are you ready to meet him now? Mm-hmm. Like, certainly take some time for yourself, but like, are you ready to meet this guy and settle down for 50 years? Like, how come you're not getting married? And I think a lot of people have that experience too with their family.
Totally.
Where it's just like,
totally.
What if I don't want to get married?
Totally.
Or what if I'm happy dating around?
Totally.
Or what if I'm still making up my mind? Or
yes.
Like, I think it's like very parallel.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, because it goes into all the old paradigms.
Right.
You get married, you have kids, you have a career, you have a pension, you have a house, you have a retirement plan.
Yeah. And I think that's like where a lot of the fear comes from too. When talking to those people that either still have that mentality because that was a generation that they have lived through, or because they're just so ingrained in that old narrative. I think part of the fear is that like any move you make is essentially permanent. It's for life.
Right.
Like marriage, kids, career,
right.
Like it's all for life. You buy a home, it's for life.
Oh my God, you just reminded me, because that was what it was. So I have this maybe dream of opening a food truck.
Yeah.
But what I realized recently from all this stuff that I'm working on and working through, I don't want to say I'm going to do the food truck for the rest of my life. I actually found really exciting to say I might put all that work in, I might do all the things, and only have the food truck for a couple of years.
Sure.
Because I think that'd be really fun, amazing. I think I could make some money. I think I could get out in the community and do the things I want. And I think the challenge would be amazing and like growth oriented of like pushing myself to like prove to myself that I can actually do that. Like when I've always limited myself or been like, oh, that's too scary, that's too much, that's too big, oh, I can't run a thing, oh, I have so much to learn, I don't know. Oh my God, I'm so capable. Just go do it. And I was really excited that I was like allowing myself to say, actually, I could just do it for a few years.
Yeah.
It does not have to be this like lifelong career that I'm now a food truck girl.
No, it's part
There's
of
lots of things I want to do.
Right. And it's just part of the experiment.
It's part of the experiment and the plan and the idea and the living in the moment and the doing the things. And I love that it's not permanent. And I think that's what it was. I said that to her too. I forgot I said that. And right away was like, but you got to get something more long term. When are you going to get something long term? And that's where it went. I have to get something long term and I need a pension, I need a 401k, and I have these things. And yeah, it's the feeling misunderstood. This generation, I feel like, is being understood by a lot, especially people in the generation. We're all understanding one another really clearly. But there is this just like disconnect with baby boomers and our generation. There's just this right amount of gap. And we're just on the cusp of like trying to do new things or got forced into doing new things because of fucking student loans. No, like student loans are so pivotal to the way that our generation has been pushed to grow outside the box. Because...
Or like to not grow and not launch because the loans come with so much fear.
Right. But what I mean to say is we've not grown and launched. The ones even that haven't at this point are going, wait a fucking minute, I'm so fucking miserable, and it pushes them to grow outside the box. Because they stayed in those shitty jobs to pay off their goddamn student loans.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? We were forced to go to college by our parents who were so fucking adamant we had to go to college. We had to know what we want to do with our lives. We had to pick a fucking lane at age 18. We had to then stick to it. We had to then go get a job that you couldn't get without a degree. You have to have a degree in order to get a job, and then you go get a job that isn't even that fulfilling, or our generation goes off and doesn't use our degree. That's like such a fucking thing. That's such a fucking thing in the zeitgeist to just be like joking with your friends, being like, ha ha ha, yeah, here's my job. It's X, Y, and Z. Absolutely nothing to do with my degree.
You know what I just realized too? All of the people that we started off talking about, like all the people within the population of like, I am so miserable at my job right now.
Yes.
I'm dreading.
Are they working in their degrees?
Yes.
100%. They're working within their degrees.
And the happiest people that I know, maybe with the exception of maybe the two other women that we're closest to.
Two other women that we're closest to.
Maybe with the exception of them, everyone else I know that's like super happy in their life is not working in their degree.
Correct.
Nothing close.
And the ones that are working in their degree are also really experimenting with like flexibility and not staying at a place that they're miserable at, because they do actually enjoy their work, but they're not going to then just put themselves in a box and be miserable at X job just because it's got a reputation or whatever. You know, one of them started their own business to go away from
absolutely
having to be in the hamster wheel of that profession, and the other one had a job that was fucking miserable, and thank God had the courage to get out, and then because she did, the universe was like, good for you, you cleared out the space, and here's a job that's actually really fucking perfect for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, staying in your own degree, listen, again, of course we're not saying that there aren't people that are fucking fulfilled in their jobs, right? Like, that's not who we're talking about. In the corporate world or otherwise. People can be really fulfilled in their jobs. You can be fulfilled in your degree. What the fuck?
If you're super happy and fulfilled in your life, then why are you even listening to
us? We only want our listeners to be miserable.
Nah, man, this is the people we want to help.
Yeah, no.
As we help ourselves, because like we don't fucking have the answers, but we're we're awake. We're like paying attention.
That's we're trying. I want to now talk really quickly though. But then I will say the flip side of that conversation we're talking about a lot was my Uber driver conversation last night. And that thing was so fucking fun because I got really fun, cool responses from someone who was coming at me with the normal batched questions, but then was like, oh, okay, whenever I would answer. So like I was with this Uber driver. He was so sweet. I end up out telling him, like, I'm an event server, and so that was what the job was, and that's what we were doing. And I'm talking about it, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, actually, I forgot I just quit. It was so funny. It just, like, I had forgotten. And I'm like, actually, I don't even work there anymore, technically. Like, I'm done with that job. And he's like, oh, great. What are you going to do next? Like, what's your other job? And that's now I've gotten a bunch of times at work, too. And to their credit, that's the other thing I want to say. So many people are more open-minded right now, and I fucking love it. Whether or not they're doing it for themselves yet, I am also wanting to acknowledge that I'm getting a lot of cool responses. Where
absolutely.
Definitely you see it where the first question is, what's your next job? What are you doing next? And then I'm like, oh, nothing. I'm going to bed. I'm going to go to bed. Like, I'm going to go sleep. I'm really fucking tired and I need some rest and I need to recharge and I need to figure out my next step, but that's going to come with me resting. I have no fucking clue what's next.
Right.
And honestly, a lot of people are, on the flip side, being like, awesome, that's really cool. Good for you. Yeah. They really are. And then they're like, I'm jealous. Like, I've gotten that. I got that from one of my managers. She went, not going to lie, I'm kind of jealous. And I was like, dude. Totally. Like, I'm not even leaving you guys for another job. I love you guys. I just need to lay the fuck down for a minute. Like, absolutely not. And I am getting more of that too. Let us be clear. That's actually a very important point I want to make. It's not all this one other thing. But long story short, I just wanted to mention about the driver. The most fun part was just when at one point, he started like trying to problem solve for me. Even though I said to him, I was like, I'm not going to go do anything. I don't want to get a job. I need to rest. And he's like, yeah, and you know, you could always like go like drive for something for like Uber Eats. And I was like, yeah, no, I mean, I could do that. And he was like, you know, yeah, like you could, and he like said it like 2 more times. And I kept going, yeah, no, I could. And then finally, I like very firmly was like, wait, listen, I absolutely am capable, I 100% could go drive for Uber Eats. I'm not going to. And he just like burst into laughter because I was like so straightforwardly, I'm not gonna. And he didn't get offended or defensive or like, right. oh, okay. Because some people kind of shut down at that moment. He instead was like so open and was like, oh, he was like, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, you're just not going to. And I was like, I'm not going to. Yeah. I just want to live my life right now and be present. I want to give myself a minute. I need to take some time. Like, I want to figure it out. And like, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I want to do something I love. I love music. I love food. Like, I want to do those things more, but I need some rest and like whatever. And he was just like so intrigued and into it. And then I asked him about him, and he was like talking about how he went to school. But, you know, I was like, did you enjoy what you studied? And he was like, well, I studied biology and then IT, and then I was doing this IT job for a long time. And like, yeah, honestly, I really didn't like it. I really was unhappy and I didn't like it. And I was like, totally, I understand. It's okay. Like, you weren't happy in the degree you got, and you're out trying to pick a degree that's going to make you some money and like give you a quote unquote good career and all these different things. And he just seemed so like energized by me, which was really unexpected. Because I was just out of it, and I was coming from a party, and, you know, I'm in the fucking Uber, and, like, talk, you know. But it was so uplifting to have someone feel energized by what I'm doing that is not scary sometimes. Or certainly that I have to justify all the time left and right to people. But not actually. But you know what I'm saying.
No,
you know, like, you know, like, in
yeah.
and
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a little harder to come by with like maybe loosely categorized as relatives or people of older generations or people that have almost like a vested interest in us.
Sure.
It's harder to come by in those people.
Right.
But most of the time,
right,
the responses I get are, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, when we had the barbecue a couple weeks ago, like several people that I talked to that I hadn't talked to in a while were just like, oh my God, that's great.
Right.
And I know, especially because it's like, look, y'all, I got real fucking blessed this year, and I got real fucking happy. And I'm not going to tone that down. But like, when people see that, they see it, they feel it. And it's like, even if they wanted to, I don't think they can argue with that.
Right. Well, I wonder if they did a few years ago, because I do remember getting more responses years ago being like, all right, you know, good luck with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as much.
Nope.
There's not the, okay, and you're like, okay, I don't know, you don't get it, fine, but like, why are you having that reaction? It's like,
everyone's just like, wow.
They're like, okay, yeah, cool.
Okay. And I think when you were talking about the Uber driver too, it's like, I feel like you were probably opening him up and like...
Yes. It was resonating hard for him.
Right. No, like you were inspiring him.
Inspiring him. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because he felt happy when I pushed back, because he wasn't being pushy. Totally. Like, yeah. It was such a nice vibe. He was like, well, no, but you could do Uber. Well, yeah, but you could do Uber. No, sure, but you could do Uber. And I was like, no, I hear you. I can. I agree with you. You don't have to say it again. I agree that I can do Uber. I shalln't. I shalln't do Uber.
I shalln't not it.
I shalln't not it. But like, I am not doing Uber. I'm not doing...
You're not doing anything for a minute.
I'm just not doing anything. And that's going to be real weird and confusing, and you're going to have lots of questions, and you're going to be like, how the fuck? Where's the money coming from? How are you going to survive? Et cetera, et cetera. A, like, none of your business. And B, I'll tell you if you want to know. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think that's the other element of like, what is so fascinating about the examples that you and I are talking about. We know the people we're discussing. And every person we're talking about that's scared shitless to leave the job they're miserable at has so much more money than you and I have.
Oh my God, it's a fucking joke.
A fucking cosmic joke. The amount
it's hysterical
of fucking money these people have.
It's as though, I want to give this illustration because it just popped into my head. Mm-hmm. It's as though they are traveling by rocket ship, and you and I are sharing a tricycle.
1,000%. And this is only to say, fuck yeah. Go the fuck them. How goddamn exciting and fun that you have so much money, and you can't enjoy it. And here are Maria and I trying to be like, I'm not gonna work, and I'm gonna figure out my own life with like $1,000 in the bank or less or whatever, like with whatever amount of money. And these people like genuinely have a fuck ton of money, which, you know, everything's relative. What do we mean by a fuck ton? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But genuinely have months and months of savings. Months and months and months of savings. And I'm saying I want to try to take like a month off before doing some shit. They can easily take a month off. 1 month, 4 weeks.
They can and should take a year off.
Which is fine. That would, of course,
I'm just saying.
That would be the best. But what I'm saying is even a month would be so rejuvenating because, and here's what I mean by rejuvenating, which is the other point of what you'd have to be ready for if you take the month. You're going to feel anxious a lot. But I think what you and I, to go back full circle to the beginning of what we were saying, was what you have come upon is feeling through your feelings helps them actually resolve faster. So you don't have to keep feeling anxious. But when you have years and years and generations of traumatic anxiety in your body, a month might not be enough. But if you let yourself just feel the anxiety for a month, listen to the voices that come up, get curious about why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Go to motherfucking therapy if you need to. Watch some fucking spiritual advisor videos. Call me and Maria. Email us. Reach out to people who are doing the same work so you don't feel like you're doing it alone.
For
if
real,
you fucking, yeah.
For real, email us or
For
Instagram
real.
us or YouTube us.
For real.
We're around.
We're fucking around all the time. Fucking around and finding out.
We are both around.
And fucking around.
Yeah,
exactly. But if you give yourself a month to feel the feelings,
they get to go away.
And like a month isn't really enough when you're that deep in it, but a month, what is enough? It doesn't matter. It's a lifelong project, but like a month does a lot. Because the thing is, you have to get through that initial, what the fuck have I done? Have I lost my mind? Oh my fucking God, did I make the wrong choice? Oh, holy shit. What do I do with my time? Oh my God, I feel so antsy. I need to do something because I'm always going. I don't know how to slow down. I don't know how to stop. I'm crawling out of my motherfucking skin. You have to go through that because you're already going through it while going to work every day.
That is the exact...
And you're exhausted.
That is the exact point that we should end on, but I have so much more to say.
Go. We're not ending. Go ahead.
Yes, that's exactly it.
You already feel that shitty all the fucking time if you're in that place.
Just put down the job.
And
what I want to say with that,
and
too.
Again, that's what I was trying to say in the beginning. You won't miraculously feel better. It will be the better choice. If you can get to the place where you go, that's going to be the better choice, and it's not going to always feel great. But I know right now in this moment, the truth of all truths is that it will be better for me that I fucking quit this job and I'm not this miserable. I might still feel some misery for a minute, but maybe not even misery. Just the anxiety and the fear. That's all going to be there because it's already there.
Yep. And just like discomfort. Like I think there's, I don't know, I guess that's for another time, but like our aversion to discomfort on a societal level.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say too is like part of what is so painful to watch people in those situations where they're like, they've got this corporate job and they're like, I can't stand it. I'm so fucking miserable. I would love you to quit your job if that's how you feel. And also, that's not the only option. Mm-hmm. The point is, you're miserable, put down the thing that is making you most miserable. So in a lot of cases, there's like, go on sabbatical, like use all your PTO, just whatever you have to do to be able to put it down, like especially all those corporate places. You can get leave of absences left and right for different things. Fucking use that, shut your laptop, and people are like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I would do. I don't know if that would help anything. Try it, because the way that your mind is working right now, you are so fucking stressed out.
Yeah.
That like, even if there was such a thing as I'm gonna figure out what to do, you're not gonna find it in your current headspace.
You're right.
You are not gonna have an idea that is good for you in that space. Just put it down for a minute. And most people don't consciously claim this, but like what I want to say a lot, and this is something that I very clearly learned at some point in time several years ago, but it's just like, you think you can't put down your job because you have all these responsibilities. Quit, sabbatical, leave of absence, whatever. You think you can't because you have all these responsibilities, or you made a commitment, or you signed a contract. Like, I promise you, you are not that important. Like, the company,
truly,
the big-ass corporate company,
that's the other thing,
is going to be fucking fine without you. Right. You are replaceable. I am sorry.
And you're going to be fine without it, too, and, like, that's the codependency thing. They'll be completely fine without you. Hands down.
Right.
And you will be completely fine without it because it tries to get you to feel like you won't be okay without it.
Exactly.
You need this job. We're about, like you were saying earlier, we're about to go into a recession. You need this job. You're not going to get another one. This is the best job you're ever going to have.
You have it really
You
good.
have it really good. You've got all the benefits and the PTO and the fucking 401k and the pension in a minute. You'll never do better.
Right.
And so it's like, they don't actually give a fuck. And I'm not even trying to say, like, individual humans. It's just...
Oh, no, just the corporate structure
the structure, the structures that you're in, whatever it is.
They don't need you like that.
They don't.
They don't need you like you think they need you.
Let's also talk to the restaurant workers, because it's not just the corporate structures. I was at a restaurant back in the day that was super codependent. Small business owners who are workaholics. Keep your eye out for the bosses that are workaholics. Those are the ones who, they're codependent as well. And so they will make you feel like you are indispensable. But not in a good way.
Right.
In like this like really toxic rat race, you're working 80 hours a week because you're the only one, because they won't hire somebody else to do the job that you're doing. So now you never get a day off. This happened to me, right? I didn't have a day off because basically I ran this catering program.
Right, and then you felt responsible.
And then I felt responsible.
For the success of the whole business that wasn't your business.
And that I was not getting paid for.
Right.
Correct. It wasn't my fucking business. And I'm making $40,000 a year in fucking Boston, which has crazy high living expenses.
Right.
And I'm working 80 hours a week running the entire catering program.
I remember that because you were absent.
Gone. Absolutely gone.
I talked to you like every 2 months.
Absolutely gone. I had no time. I had no life. I was fucking exhausted.
Right.
And I thought at that age that, I'm salaried. Truly, I remember being like, I'm salaried. I have health insurance. It doesn't even matter the number of the salary. It was just the word salaried.
Right. It was like, I made it.
I made it. This is what I need to be doing right now. I'm salaried.
Right.
I have health insurance. What more could I possibly ask for?
Right. This is how it goes. I'm on track.
This is how it goes. And this is what I can do. And this is where, or at least, listen, mainly it was because it was like I could go home to all the fear mongers and tell them I'm a catering manager with a salary and health insurance.
Right.
So that's where it comes from, where I'm just like, I don't need health insurance and I don't need a salary. Do I want those things? Yeah. But I do not need them. Not in any way, shape, or form in a way that's going to be toxic for my own fucking peace and health.
You don't need them at the expense of your peace and your
health. That's what I'm saying. I don't need them.
Right. You know
yes,
what's so funny?
I want them. Yes, I want them. I would love a salary, even if it was one I gave to myself. I would love to know I was making $100,000 a year and that I had health insurance.
Right.
I would absolutely love that. I am not trying to reject it. I'm saying I don't need it. I will not have health insurance if it's going to be this fucking batshit.
Right, which is...
And honestly, I do have health insurance now because of fucking Medicaid. But, go ahead. I digress. I'm freaking out.
Can I hit your vape? I'm freaking out. No, but what I was going to say about that is, I just had this idea that, corporate-sponsored health insurance is literally only necessary for the people in those corporate places because the only reason they need health insurance is because of what the corporate job is doing to them.
Yes, actually fucking yes. I'm not saying I'm never going to need health insurance. I'm not saying I'm never going to have health problems. I'm not saying there aren't varying degrees of everybody's health, etc., etc., etc.
No,
but 100% yes. It was like, you're so fucking depleted and exhausted and your immune system is fucking shot and your adrenaline is through the fucking roof.
And you're
repressing all your emotions
and the calling of your soul.
So of course you fucking get sick and you need some goddamn health insurance.
Right.
And it's not even that cheap. It's not even that great. You gotta still hit a goddamn stupid deductible. You still have to pay this shit every month. What the fucking fuck? Which is just the system being broken. Totally fair. But that's the whole point. Let me be miserable so I can be part of this system that isn't working well.
Yeah, let me be 90% miserable so that I can partake in the system that will alleviate 10% of my misery.
Correct.
Maybe just step outside of it.
Be grateful for it.
Right. Because a lot of people don't get to do this.
Yeah, so you better fucking be grateful for that health insurance. Some people don't even have health insurance. Ay. And again, I want health insurance. And that's what's so wild, though, too, when it's that's sort of the vibe I'll get to of just acting like I'm crazy because I must not want these things. And it's just
oh,
what?
Yeah. Right.
Of course I don't want to have something catastrophic happen to me and then I get a fucking $100,000 bill at the hospital. Yeah, I certainly don't want that.
Right. Or the other thing that I get a lot is either I don't want... I don't know if I get that as much because I do have insanely expensive health insurance.
Right. Yeah, but if you got the thing, you don't get the shit for it.
Right. Well, oh my God, I don't even think I can talk about it.
That's a whole other episode.
But what I was going to say is, like, I also get so much of, like, I must not have any dreams or goals if I'm not putting a plan in place somehow.
Totally.
Or people are just like, oh, you're just, like, fluttering about like a little butterfly and just, like, not a care in the world. And it's like, that ain't it, yo.
Right.
Like, I'm opting out of stress.
Right.
On the level that y'all are choosing it. But that doesn't mean that I don't still feel passionate and intentional and effortful about a great many things. And I do have worries and I do have fears.
Absolutely.
And I'm just trying to make something different than what you're making.
Yeah.
That's all.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, even recently I got the whole like, oh, well, it's different for you because you've just been having fun lately.
Oh, you
like,
did?
It's like, well, yes, but that's on purpose. Like,
and I mean, I think that's also where that comes from. I say this with love. I don't mean that they're even conscious of it or whoever we're talking about. People who say that, it is out of that jealousy and resentment.
Sure.
You know,
and also ignorance to the fact that I'm not special in any way. I'm just making a different choice that is also available to you.
Right.
It is available to you. But you want to hold on to the limitations and the victimhood of the situation that you are opting into.
Correct.
You want to fight for that? You can have it. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm making a different choice.
Right. And I think this is for me. I don't know that you would look at it the same way.
Yeah.
But I feel resentment that I'm like working through, and I don't want to keep feeling resentful. But like I feel resentment feelings towards the people that are scared for me or that are stuck in their own stuff or whatever. Because semantics aside, what I'm doing isn't easy. It doesn't feel easy to me all the time. In a good way, in a challenging, growth-oriented way, it is growing. It is not just like, I'm flitting about in joy and ignorance and bliss. It's like, no, man, it's fucking hard to actually lean into faith and surrender and make choices that I'm going to be judged for by the people that I care about because I have the same programming stuck in my head too that I'm working through. It's actually not easy to go, I'm not going to get a job. It's getting easier, which is the point. It's getting easier and easier. This time is really not that hard, but I'm saying it still doesn't come without feelings or challenge or friction where it's like, it is not just like, yay, I don't have to work. Everything's easy.
No, and I think
is kind of the goal, but
well,
isn't only like that. Okay, go. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I think that goes back to the misunderstanding thing too, because I've had this experience very clearly several times, and then it pops up randomly too, where it's like, towards the end of a day, I get this voice in my head of like, what the hell have you been doing all day? Like, you're just fucking around, you haven't done any work.
Absolutely.
When are you going to find a job and stop playing this game? And then, because by the grace of God, I got a time tracking app like back in the spring. Oh. I track every waking minute of my day.
Oh, that's crazy.
Not in a perfectionistic
not in a judgy
sense.
way. No, not judgy.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's really cool for me because it helps me with like the awareness of how I'm spending my time.
Yeah.
Which has been incredible to shift my relationship with time too.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking intentional about my time. And like obviously there's been days or chunks of the day that like I miss all the time, and I'm so happy that I can hold it imperfectly.
Right.
But the information that I get from that is fucking incredible, because there's been a couple times where I get that narrative in my head at the end of the day that I'm a piece of shit because I didn't do anything, and I'm, living in a delusion, and I'm not. And I look at what I've been doing all day, and it's like hours spent on the podcast, hours spent on my photography, hours spent on an essay, hours spent marketing or researching some new skill or investing. Obviously there's tons of like investing in like my spiritual growth, and then the other thing is investing in my physical health or my relationships, but like that is all that I am doing in my life. And like on many of those occasions I look at my time tracker at the end of the day and it's like, oh fuck, I like worked 10 hours today.
Right.
10 hours. And like, it isn't hard in the sense that people are familiar with. It's hard in that it's energy, it's output, it's intention, it's awareness, it's being fucking awake.
Right.
And it's, as you were saying too, it's fielding all the bullshit from people projecting their fears on me, from people's fears that are just like ingrained in my head, which is where that voice comes from.
Right.
At the end of the evening, fielding like my own feelings about, is this gonna quote unquote work?
Right.
And it's like, what does that even mean?
Right.
So to your point, it's a shitload of work, but in a very different way.
Right.
And this kind of work I'm so fucking proud of.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about.
Yeah.
And it's sustainable.
Right.
Like I have been doing this for what, like
8 months.
7-8 months?
Yep.
Solid.
Yes.
And this feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Really fucking good. And I think you asked me like last week, that was so amazing, when you were like, when's the last time you had a day off? And in that moment I was like, it was so funny because it was not that I didn't know when I like last had a day quote unquote off. It was that I don't even know what a day on is right now.
Yeah.
Because there's just, for me, so much flow within the creation and all of this stuff. And like, even woven within that, there's times of massive discomfort.
Right.
Which is the thing that, let me remind you, everyone else is avoiding.
Right.
The massive discomfort that I sit in for chunks of some days.
Yeah.
That's just like, I am not sure that I know what's next.
Totally.
And just fucking sitting there and being like,
stares blankly.
No, so just like having those moments of massive discomfort and like knowing that I could solve it if I went back into the old behavior of let me hustle and find some job, anything, resisting that temptation because I genuinely feel inspired and called to build a different life for myself. That is a lot of the work for me.
Right.
And you can't tell me that's not hard.
Right.
And I'm not going to semantic fight with you because that is hard.
Yep.
And the thing that I'm sitting in, that you're sitting in when you choose not to get a job, is the thing that's hard about it is that resistance that so many people are avoiding.
Right.
Like we're doing that. So we're choosing a different hard.
Yep.
And just because people don't understand it
right.
doesn't mean it's not
worth
bringing us to tears sometimes.
Absolutely.
Often.
Right. Yeah, totally. And it just takes patience because the people that are scared, that speak to us with such fear, are like some of the people who love us the most. So that's painful too, because it's like this being misunderstood feeling, but
which sucks.
It sucks.
Which really
sucks. It really just blows.
Yeah.
I do have faith that that's going to shift. It's just going to take time, and that's the patience part, and it does suck.
Right. And it sucks. It's also bridging that understanding gap never will get to happen if you and I, or all of the many people in our position, if we give up.
Exactly.
And nothing's ever
going to change. Because you
gotta
just keep going. It's like, it's really like proving the haters wrong, and I've never cared about that. Like,
no, me either.
I've never
thought about it that way.
I've just never been. Well, because I've never been somebody who was like, if you tell me I can't do something, I will go and show you that.
You know what's so funny about that too?
What?
Is like I always think I'm just like, maybe it was like baked into millennial culture or whatever, like as we were growing up, but like I don't feel like anyone really told me you can't do that. Mm-hmm. Like whether it be peers or adults.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone ever said that. So I think it's always so funny when people are like, best feeling in the world is when you finally achieve the thing everyone said you couldn't do. And I'm like, who were you hanging out with where everyone said you can't do that thing?
Well, I think that also comes from societal stuff of, like, a woman can't do a certain thing. And, like, we're going back in time. But those people who really hold those voices with them of, like, women can't climb the corporate ladder. Then a woman climbs the corporate ladder and is like, I love when you told me I couldn't do that. It's a very, like, ambitious personality that has that. Like, Josephine, my choir conductor, was very much like that. It was like, you know, it's the competitive types who are like, I'm not even saying that they got told it by a personal person, but it was like societal jokes and voices of like, and I do think some people did get that when they were kids. The amount of times I've heard people who like had college counselors be like, you can't get into that school. Your grades aren't good enough, or you're not good enough, or they're never going to accept you. I've heard those stories. So I do think it happens. It's like, but for me, if I was told that, I was always just kind of like, maybe I internalized it. Maybe I was a little sad, but I also was just like, okay. And it didn't totally like ruin my self-confidence, but it certainly did not push me to go, I'm going to prove them wrong. I am not that ambitious. I don't give a fuck. Like,
no, absolutely.
I'm not competitive.
No,
like,
me too. Not a competitive cell in my body.
Totally. But
unless we're playing Mario Kart.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Then
or Pac-Man.
I don't even know if I get competitive with
I'm so competitive
but
with Pac-Man.
I know you are. I know you are.
I love it so much.
No, but for Mario Kart.
Mario Kart 2. Mario Kart 2. I love Mario Kart.
I'm throwing the controller out the window.
Me fucking too, bitch. Let's go. We gotta find Mario Kart and play each other. Oh my god.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'm gonna fuck you up. Don't even come for me, man. Oh,
who's your character?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you would.
Okay. I was wondering if you... I was wondering if you would pick the same. Who's your character?
Guess.
Lady... Princess... Oh, no. Warrio.
Mm-hmm.
Warrio.
Wait, is that his name?
Warrio? The, like, hulky...
The
crazy spiky one?
Yep.
Warrio.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you would so be Warrio.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is Sparta!
I love that I went for princess first, but you would kind of be that too.
If there was an amalgamation of the two,
No, I agree, because you'd make, like, princess, like, a badass bitch, but you would be princess. But Warrio, of course you would pick Warrio.
No, we put Warrio in a princess dress.
Definitely. Take Warrio and put him in a... Yeah.
No, bedazzled Warrio.
Bedazzled Warrio.
I feel like he had a different name in that game, though.
Interesting. No, he didn't. He's got the same name everywhere.
Okay. All right.
It's a Mario character.
I know. I'm conflating something else.
We'll look it up after this.
Yeah.
To wrap it up, the competitive thing. For once in my life, I'm not doing it to prove these people wrong at all. It's like to prove the haters wrong, like whatever, because they're not haters. Because,
right,
like,
and they're also not like
they're not
wrong.
like wishing us unwell or whatever. But all I'm saying is, I do know that the more we stick to our convictions, that's the patience part.
Right.
Where it's like, God damn, they're not going to see it for a few more years. Not because of anything we do, or if we hit a certain milestone, it won't matter. It's just kind of their acceptance that we're not just in La La Land and that we're going to snap out of it.
Right, which they might not come to for a while.
That's what I mean. It's going to take them a while, and it's going to take that acceptance. Or what I know, too, is it's going to take some conversations. I'm not saying the conversations always work, but at least, like, boundary setting, I guess I mean to say.
Right.
Of just...
Yeah,
I don't know. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
We'll talk about boundaries on the next episode.
LOL. Boundaries.
The next monster 4-part episode. Because...
Boundaries are bae.
Yeah. No, for real, boundaries are bae.
Boundaries are so bae.
If you need help with boundaries, call us.
Yeah, I have a really good physical activity to teach you boundaries. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, that's right.
I love that shit.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just hype you up.
Thank you.
And fuck you up on Mario Kart.
Absolutely not. I can't wait for us to play Mario Kart now. Oh my god, if anybody has Mario Kart, call us.
Right. We're gonna rent out your place for a minute.
Oh man, can we rent a fucking Nintendo 64?
I don't know.
That'd be kind of fun.
Someone send us one.
Send us one, please. Okay, thanks. All right, guys. God.
Okay, things just got tense.
Stay strong out there. You got this.
We'll talk to you later.
If you want to quit your job, send us an email. We'll walk you through it.
We will hold your hand through it. Also, email othermariapodcast@gmail.com, Instagram and YouTube @othermariapodcast. Love you. Talk to you in a couple weeks.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and most importantly, share. This episode was hosted by Maria and Maria. Theme music composed and performed by Maria. Logo design by Maria. recorded and produced by Maria. Snacks provided by Maria. Moral support provided to Maria by Maria.